Welcome back. Former President Trump and Vice President Harris both hitting the campaign trail in North Carolina this week. Trump will speak today in Asheville on economic hardships created by the Biden-Harris administration, while Harris will be in North Carolina on Friday. She is expected to release an economic agenda ahead of that speech. Early this month, I spoke with the former President Trump, who explained his economic agenda. Watch.
Please explain to us how your economic policies that will impact the lives of American citizens differs from Kamala Harris's economic policies.
We're going to, number one, base it very strongly in energy. We have more liquid gold, as I call it, under our feet than Saudi Arabia, than Russia, than anybody. Number two, we're going to do a tariff system. We're going to bring back our auto jobs. We're bringing back the automobile industry. And we're going to do that with tariffs.
So this will be the first 100 days?
I'll get that done in less than 100 days.
He also talked about extending the tax cuts and deregulation. Joining me now is the Deputy Director of Communications for Donald J. Trump for President, Caroline Sunshine. Caroline, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us what President Trump is focused on these days as the race has tightened so much.
Absolutely. It is Maganomics. The question on every American's mind is, were they better off than they were 4 years ago? And for almost every American in every generation, the answer to that question is no. If you are a young person trying to buy a home, it's costing the average American, they need to make about $100,000 a year just to afford a median home price in this country. The average family is having to spend about 41% of their income on housing or rent. If you're an American who already has a family of your own, maybe you're already in a home, we're looking at the cost of diapers, cost of living, baby formula with $22 a package 2 years ago. Now it's $45 a package if you go to your local Costco. And of course, for our seniors, we've met a lot of seniors. President Trump met one of them on the campaign trail about a month ago, who said he had to come out of retirement to afford daily life and to afford his medication. And of course, the woman who broke the economy is not going to be the one to fix it. Of course, I'm talking about Kamala Harris, the woman that wears a $62,000 Tiffany necklace around her neck every day, isn't going to be the one to fix the economy, where the average American, it's costing them $28,000 extra dollars a year. She wears a necklace worth 2 times that amount around her neck every day, just to afford the cost of daily life. So people remember Maganomics, the Trump economy. As he said, drill baby drills, the first thing we're going to do to bring down that inflation, which was at 1.9% when President Trump left office. Let's not forget.
Well, I mean, look, Kamala Harris has changed a lot of her positions, according to her aides. We still do not have a policy platform from the vice president. She's gone 24 days without holding a formal press conference, without doing a sit-down interview. Since Biden stepped out of this race, CNN pressed the Harris campaign on the vice president's lack of interviews. Watch this.
What's on the vice president's schedule today?
Well, she's traveling and talking to voters and getting her message out there to the American people, something that she's been doing from the very start of this campaign.
I was asking about today, and I don't think she's got any campaign events on the schedule today, does she?
Well, she and Governor Walz have been traveling across the country. They hit nearly every battleground state last week.
It seems like she has time, if she wanted, to do an interview with a member of the media or do a news conference, correct? There does appear to be that time if she wanted.
Well, look, she has said on the campaign trail that she would be doing an interview at some point.
Caroline, what about that? What is Kamala Harris afraid of? Why won't she sit down with any reporter or answer questions about what her platform is?
Yikes. Well, I'm sure she was off the campaign trail because she was busy plagiarizing another one of President Trump's policies. As you mentioned, she's yet to release a policy platform. The only platform she's released is copying ours. I mean, I knew President Trump's policies were popular. I just didn't know they were that popular with Kamala Harris, who's a plagiarizer, like the kid in school that leans over and cheats off of your homework. But you make an excellent point, and it's actually because I think the liberal mainstream media is completely complicit in this. I think they act on TV as if they're shocked she hasn't sat down and taken a tough question. They know the answer to why she won't sit down, do a tough interview, do a press conference like the one President Trump did last week, where he took questions for over an hour, no teleprompter needed. They know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
And they know the answer to that question is that if she has to, the castle is going to crumble, because she's a flip-flopper on every policy position she's ever had. She's also wildly inauthentic, and she's dangerously liberal. And when she has to confront that truth, her poll numbers are going to continue to sink and the bottom's going to fall out.
Well,
and they just can't have that for their chosen protected candidate.
And right now, to that point, Todd Pyro, the Kamala Harris campaign is telling Fox that there will be no push for Medicare for all. This is coming directly from the vice president, this aide says, who in the past has strongly supported Medicare for all, even co-sponsoring Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All Act. Watch this, Todd.
I support Medicare for all, I always have, but I wanted to make the plan better, which I did. So under my Medicare for all plan, people have the choice of a private plan or a public plan because that's what people want. Access to affordable health care should not be a privilege, it should be a right.
You support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it.
And the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. And you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company. Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan? All right.
There you go, Chad. Jump in.
Okay, but if you're watching Fox Business or Fox News, you see that contrast. You see that split screen. If you're watching any other media, you're probably not seeing that. So my question to you, Caroline, is what is the strategy to combat this dual-headed monster, a Kamala who's clearly doing basement 2.0 so she doesn't get herself caught up in anything, and combating the media, which is not going to, put her feet to the fire in any way, shape, or form? That's the first part. The
They're
second
not going
part,
to do Trump any favors, that's for sure.
Yeah, and to Maria's point earlier, where are the rest of the Republicans trying to campaign for the president, acting as surrogates, making this point when they go on mainstream media?
Well, you make an excellent point. As we know, when you run as the anti-establishment candidate for president, you are never just running against the Democrat Party nominee. You are running against the liberal mainstream media that operates as the PR operation and really the whole swamp apparatus. And that's why when President Trump came down the escalator in 2015, his message was so compelling of draining the swamp. And you have to continue to do that. What we plan to do is what you saw just a couple of days ago when President Trump sat down with Elon Musk on X. Look, the good news is that the liberal mainstream media doesn't have the trust of the American people. They haven't for a long time. Those ratings on CNN, the only time they spike is when President Trump's on their network, because he's the only one that tells the truth anytime on that network. But the American people have lost trust in the liberal mainstream media for very good reasons, right? This is a liberal mainstream media that's lied to them about everything from Joe Biden's cognitive decline to the Hunter Biden laptop story, now carrying water for Kamala Harris. They have contempt for the American people. They treat them like they're not that intelligent. We think the American people are very smart, and we plan on bringing President Trump's message directly to them in formats where the bias is removed. And what you saw the other night when President Trump sat down with Elon Musk for over a 2-hour conversation, I thought what Elon Musk said at the end was very important, and it's what we're seeing more and more happen. As he said, you know what, I got to be honest, I've leaned a little more Democrat, I've been apolitical, I lean left, if anything, and I did this conversation tonight because if you're like me and you're more moderate or you're a disaffected Democrat, I want you to give President Trump a chance. I want you to see him through a different filter. And I have to say, the comments, the emails, the text messages, the views on that stream, absolutely overwhelming. And if you watch the next morning, the liberal mainstream media had a meltdown over that stream because they know they're losing control of the narrative for their chosen candidate, Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it's incredible to watch the media in this way. Caroline, thanks very much. We'll be watching the campaign for sure. Caroline Sunshine joining us. Thank you. We will be right back. Stay with us.